Hi, it's Mr. Bye for Now from Millwall Football Club, and you're listening to the world famous Achtung, Millwall.
Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to Manic Monday. With us today is our show regular Graham Payne. Welcome to the show, Graham.
Hello, Nick. Pleased to be on.
We're going to chew over the cud of what was a very, very disappointing 2-0 loss up there at Bramall Lane on Saturday. Hopefully on a Monday we can try and give a bit more of a considered view on it, listeners. When you record in the immediate aftermath of a game, you can be a little bit, it can be quite hard to see it with clear eyes. I mean, Graham, I felt that the game seemed to turn on a point that actually John Rankin's made in the voicemail, which I'm going to play in a moment, on leadership. In actual fact, let's run that voicemail now, listeners, and then we'll come back to Graham afterwards.
Hi Nick, John Rankin here, just reporting in after a gruelling day. Sheffield United, it was a very, very poor show. Millwall were down, 2-0 down after about 15 minutes. And I have to say, Sheffield United did an absolute job on Jake Cooper. The forwards would not leave him alone. They were like wasps, round an animal trying to get it in, bite him every time he got the ball in defence, and he crumbled. The first goal was pressure applied on their press to Jake Cooper, and the second goal was a woeful back pass by Cresswell. I haven't seen the replay, I'm just recalling from memory. Cresswell should have been taken off. He lost his head. He was just a different player from the one who debuted at the Den. He was absolutely awful, and really not his fault. I think the occasion just got too much to it for him. It was a packed Sheffield United, and they were pressing us, and they were playing very well, and he couldn't get near the ball. Himself and Cooper were hesitating. They were mixing challenges up. It was woeful defensive performance, and to be honest with you, Millwall, as you know, we aren't a club that score a lot of goals, and it was all over after 15 minutes. We all knew there was no way we were coming back. We just weren't in the game. Second half, different ball game. We came out and we huffed and we puffed, created activity around the box, but no clear-cut chances. We had lots of corners and set pieces, but they just completely did a job again on Jake Cooper and Cresswell. Well, he should have gone off at half-time. Even with Cooper acting as a decoy, Cresswell didn't really get his head to the ball. He had a couple of chances in the box and just completely fluffed them. There were no real stand-out performances. The main thing is there was a lack of leadership. There was a real lack of leadership on the pitch, and I have to say a lack of leadership from the bench. I mean, Gary Rowett made 2 substitutions with 10 minutes to go, and we were 2-0 down. Stoke used their substitutions after about 55 minutes, and they were firmly in control. It was a bad performance, and I think, Gary Rowett and his staff, as they're referred to, have got to sit down and think. We missed George Honeyman yesterday, and I think Sean Hutchinson should have played. There was nothing really up front. I mean, we got hold of the ball, we moved it around, but we only managed to move it around until we lost it. And then they launched another attack. Sheffield were moving the ball up the pitch 60 yards in, a few seconds. And they were just marching through us in the middle. Very bad day at the office, Millwall. Don't know what to make of it, really. Come on, you Lions.
Achtung, Millwall.
So yeah, Graham, John makes a great point there about leadership, lack of on-field and lack of off-field leadership on Saturday. Do you think he got it right?
He got it spot on in my eyes, definitely.
Yeah.
It's been, to me, this away form, I know it's Sheffield, it's an hard game, but the away form now is becoming a major issue, and he doesn't seem to know how to do anything about it. I mean, and the leadership, it is a big problem. I think Cooper is not a leader, is he?
I mean, what I thought with John's voicemail, which I thought was very accurate, and thank you to John for sending that in, because it struck me thinking about the game today that we got imposed upon. They especially in the first half where we basically, I think John puts it, that we crumbled, and we did crumble because Sheffield were quicker, faster, more powerful. Gary Rowett in the post-match interview that he did was talking about Jake getting pushed in the build-up to the move that led to the first goal, which was a crucial moment, really, in retrospect. Which is fine. I get that you can, if you get pushed and the referee really ought to give a foul, but you don't always get those. But it's just struck me that that's the very thing. Sheffield have pushed us around. We should be going there to push them around. We didn't go there with that mindset. And that seems to me to be the squad weren't prepared to match fire with fire in a build-up, which comes back to Gary Rowett. I don't want to turn this into a Rowett fest because he gets enough anyway from many, many different places. But you got to look at the manager and his prep and his own in-game decision-making there, Graham. To me, it's an error what we saw Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. I also think, you think back, the game against Sheffield United at home last season wasn't that long ago. And what they did to us on Saturday, we did to them at the Den. And I just think the manager and the players remembered that. And they set about, making sure it didn't happen there. And I think I totally agree with John. They were all round Cooper. Like, they weren't going to let him settle. There was no way he was going to have a free row coming in for corners or anything. They knew their danger man was. And I still think it did stem back a bit to that game at the Den, which, towards the end of last season.
Yeah, no, I agree. Last week against Stoke, we've gone from heroes to zeros, really, haven't we? Down to earth of a bump. Heroes have turned into chumps.
In the group chat in 1 week.
Very, very Millwall. And also the message from Ben Anthony. Thank you to Ben. He said only Millwall can have an injury crisis by match day 2. He calls it the curse of Bobby Backache, who was the famous coach at Calmont, he's the physio, wasn't he, at Calmont Road. The curse of Bobby Backache lives on. Yeah. We have come down to earth of a bump. What struck me also was last week's hero was Leeds loanee Charlie Cresswell, who was kind of all conquering last week, and this week I don't know if the giddiness of suddenly achieving instant stardom at Millwall has gone to his head, but he looked a shadow of last week's player. It was his second. The second goal was down to his wayward pass there, Graham. We can talk about Jake getting pushed around, but a good solid defender steps up to the plate and helps his partner out. And I think that Cresswell fell a bit short for me on Saturday.
He did for me and all, Nick, and I think maybe what you said, maybe what happened the first game, scoring 2 goals, and maybe it's gone to his head a little bit. But he's a young guy, and hopefully, he'll learn from that, come back stronger, obviously. But that first half was shocking, wasn't it? It really was.
I suppose we're missing George Honeyman. He's only played 1 game for us, listeners, or won the bit, I suppose, if you throw in the kind of just over half of a game at Cambridge. But George Honeyman, Graham, looks like an instant classic to me. He's like he's always been a Millwall player, and we've missed him. I think that's quite. You can't have it that you can miss one player that much. That's a problem because we can all fall under a bus, can't we? And who do you replace that person with? But we certainly missed his drive and his tenacity on Saturday because we lacked that badly in the first half, and I think we improved in the second half. But I think we still didn't quite bring the full 100% game that we saw against Stoke. So thankfully, I think Honeyman will be back again if he stays fit, keeps out the Calmont Road butcher's shop. If he'll be back again against Coventry this coming Saturday, because we badly needed him on Saturday, didn't we?
But also, I know it's been ongoing for to me, we still lack creativity from open
badly,
play. Badly, and that is going to be a big problem, I feel, for us this season. I do, because I'm not going on about Jed again, but there is no. Jed obviously blew hot and cold, but he was our main man, and at times he could create. But there is no one. I know George Hanneman is a good player, but he's not.
He's more functional. He's more functional.
He's functional. That's the word, Nick. Yeah.
Jed would do the unexpected. Although someone made a good point, I saw it on Twitter earlier on, that Charlie Cresswell's 2 goals last week against Stoke, and I can't remember who made this point, but thank you, whoever you are out there that said this. Tops Jed's goal contribution for the last 8 months or something prior to him leaving. I think he scored 2 goals. I'd have to check that, but anyway, it was a snarky point. But we do need that ability to produce the unexpected, Graham. And this comes back to Gary Rowett, for me anyway. Interesting to know what listeners think, but his desire to, or not desire, he's in an unwillingness to not to make substitutions. I mean, to bring on Tyler, who is the only other person I can think of in our suddenly short-looking squad that can do the unexpected, and he did look, sharp when he came into the game, but he didn't bring him until it was about 8 or 9 minutes to go, and it's asking a lot of the boy to come in and make that amount of influence, isn't it?
It's point 8 or 9 minutes. What chance has he got to?
I thought he could come in at half time, didn't you? I thought a half time sub. We're chasing 2 goals at Bramall Lane, not easy, and we were looking very predictable. In fact, I said to Neil on Saturday, the Sheffield commentary team that I tuned into, who are very irritating listeners. I mean, if you listen to Max and to Carl, think you're lucky stars you do, because when you listen to these away teams, blimey. Anyway, I should have muted it. But at one point, the point they did make was that Billy Mitchell's long throws was just so, because they're not quite long throws, and they weren't dangerous long throws. And they made the point, why are we persisting with them? And this is from them, from the opponents. And I couldn't think of a particularly good answer, because we never looked really dangerous from a Billy Mitch or any of even a Ryan Leonard long throw.
Even Ryan Leonard's, no.
They don't come at speed into the 6-yard box like you see other teams, who have specialist long throw merchants. So I don't know why we persist with them so. And I think we need more imagination. This is going to come down to Gary Rowett and maybe his willingness, if he can, to admit that he's got a bit of a creative problem, and we need to get either some help and advice, or bring in players that can do it. He doesn't seem to trust the creative somehow, does he?
No, and I listened to the post-match with Neil, and he made the point that we've got no attacking-minded coaches at all, have we? They're all defenders.
Defenders?
Maybe, they're all defenders. Every one of his backroom staff is a defender. And, we need something. And the other thing and all with Tyler, he gives you some pace as well, which is something we also lack, isn't it? If we're going to try and break on a team, you need pace. And
he brought willingness to take a risk. He brought some pace. We didn't see, and we haven't really seen enough of Isaac Alofe really to know the strength of the boy, in my opinion, so far. So I'm going to leave him to one side. I don't know whether I don't know. I think Neil said it, that I don't know if Gary Rowett fancies them. I don't know who trusts them. Tyler, to me, looks like exactly the kind of player that we need now that Jed's gone, because he will and has enough about himself, his own self-confidence, Graham, because you need a bit of willingness to make a mistake, because you're going to get slaughtered especially by our fans. If you try and you fail, but you've got to keep making a comeback from that. You've got to pick the ball up and run at players, and he's got it. He can do it. Our best chance was from I think he made a run into the box late.
Yeah, he did.
Obviously. And I thought, well, here we go. We got some action going at last. But it seems to me that Gary Rowett, for some reason, he favours the functional over the imaginative. Which, I mean, some listeners out there will probably be saying, "Where have you been for the last 3 years, Nick?" Because that's what club have you been watching? But that's where we need to bring something. We're not far short, Graham. I still maintain we're not far short, but we do need that extra something.
Yeah, and I mean, I read today on the News at Den that he's saying that we're in talks for more players. He obviously didn't name names and how far we're down the line. But he must see that we need two, I'd say at minimum 2, possibly 3 more players. Especially with the way we seem to pick up injuries as well.
There was a great post. Dan Poor, I've kept your name, Dan. On Twitter, he says, if our transfer window is finished, we're going to struggle. Too many players are made of glass. So Dan's making the point that we're suffering with injuries, which is a fair point. We do have 1 or 2 players that seem to be quite fragile. But I also do take that point that if our transfer business is now closed, which and Gary Rowett's not saying that. He's saying we're in talks. I don't know who with or what about. What they're talking about, I don't know. But we've got fixtures in August that are going to get away from us. There's Coventry. There's about 3 or 4 more fixtures in August. But the window, I believe, closes at the end of August.
Ideally, we want Coventry Saturday, Swansea Tuesday, Good Friday. Next week.
So and we have the problem now. There's 9 points that are going to go astray if we're not careful. It's not panic stations, but some urgency on the transfer front. It just seems a little bit drifty. I don't know. I suppose nobody could have foreseen the injury crisis. Maybe, I don't know. We do have a lot of our forward line out of action at the minute, and it's a gutty one to lose Ian Fleming. It's very Millwall, though, Graham. Club record signing.
I saw it. Amount of time. I'm trying to think back, but there's been other times where they've signed a player and within 2 weeks he's injured, and you don't see him for ages. But hopefully that's not the case with Fleming. But I mean,
we're talking about
Bradshaw,
2 or 3 weeks. I don't know.
Bradshaw to me is very injury prone. You look at the time he's been at Millwall. He had 1 season where he hardly played for the whole season. Last year he was injured. He's got injured again. And I said, I think when we had that pod during the summer, that we definitely should be getting another forward in for that reason, because you're then relying on Alafe and Afobe. That's the only 2 we've got.
I mean, I'm thinking for Saturday. I mean, I personally, Gary Rowett, I'm sure, don't tune into our show and get Nick's thoughts and advice on selection. He might do, Graham, mightn't he? He should do. He'll get Harry's run. I don't know. But I mean, I would start Tyler. We were crying out on Saturday for something different. And Tyler, I believe, if memory serves, correct me if I'm wrong, has just signed an extended contract. So he's seen as part of our group. He's not going to go out on loan or anything like that. That's what I'm taking from that. So he's got to start at some point, and it's then up to the boy to impose himself on a game and take some risks and get forward like we know he can. I'd certainly want to see something a little bit more pizzazz on Saturday, because thinking back to the Stoke game, Graham, that was 2 set piece goals, wasn't it? 2 from corners.
You can't just rely on set pieces all the time. You need well, you do. You're not going to score goals every game on from set pieces, are you?
No. But what about the boy Cresswell? I mean, looking forward to Saturday. Let's help Gary with his selection sheet, Graham. I mean, Hutchinson's fit. I'm thinking maybe bring Hutch back, not to punish Cresswell particularly. He had a poor game on Saturday. I just wonder whether the whole giddy excitement, as we've called it already, has got a little bit too much for him. Maybe it wouldn't hurt him just to sit on the bench and watch one.
I think he will do that, Nick. I think he
Hutchinson,
will do that.
Cooper and Wallace on the back.
Yeah, I think he was going to play Hutchinson against Stoke until he picked up the injury on the Friday. And I think he'd already told Cresswell that he's not going to be in the side for Saturday. So I think he will go back to his tried and trusted back three, as we call them, for Saturday. Yeah, but I, like you, would like to see Tyler start, but whether he'll pick him on, I'm not so sure. But yeah, I would like to see him start on Saturday.
We'll see.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
Saville, I'm just looking at Doug in Stockholm that texted me saying Saville was his man of the match on Saturday. I think he probably was the one player that came out of a little bit of credit from Saturday. I'd like to see Saville start. Be nice to see Tyler get a chance. Mason Bennett up front. I like Mason, like him a lot, but you're waiting for him to pull up at some stage, aren't you? And hobble off for some attention and be out for a week or two. You know, it's weird. I mean, the pre-season fizz has gone, hasn't it? In an instant, Graham. It's quite Millwall in that style.
It is definitely Millwall, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely.
All the optimism after the Stoke game, as I said, in a week has just fizzled away. I know the Cambridge result, I mean, I wasn't too bothered about going out of the Carabao Cup, but it was just the performance. You know, I didn't see it, but you just read the reports and, you know, there didn't seem much urgency.
It's the manner of the defeat, I think, rather than the defeat. I mean, any Millwall fan don't mind getting beat if you get beat with the right going down fighting. I think that's probably what we didn't see enough of Saturday, certainly in the first half. We did raise our game in a second, but as we've been saying all through this podcast, it's that lack of cutting edge creativity in front of goal, which has been a curse on us for some years now. Graham, really, we haven't really.
I would say
we've struggled with it, haven't we, for many years now?
I think I would say, well, all the years we've probably been back in the Championship. I would say we've struggled really. I know we've had a few purple patches, like when the first season back where we almost made the playoffs. We went on that run and we scored a few goals, but creativity-wise, I think we've struggled big time since we've been back in the Championship. For me, it's always been a problem. You know, that we've never had that midfield player or number 10, call them what you like, who's going to get the ball and do something different, beat a man, and create something. We just never seem to find them.
I suppose that was the purpose of Zian Fleming, currently carrying a knock. He's going to be out for a few weeks yet, so we'll have to wait to see.
Yeah, obviously, we've got to give him a chance, haven't we? Yeah, I mean, I've only seen him for, what was it, 10 minutes? Was it 10 minutes last Saturday?
It was 10 minutes on Saturday, and I saw him for a bit in the second half against Hammarby. And he looks a strong boy. He's big, and he's clearly got imagination. It's as we've been saying with Cresswell in a way. I mean, the likes of Shackleton and Cresswell look like good players, but it's producing it consistently. And that maybe we've seen why Leeds have loaned him out to get that, because that's going to be, if he can't produce what he showed he can produce, talking about Cresswell here, on a regular basis, then you're not much use to a manager. And I think that's what they've sent him to us to acquire. I think the thing with Zian Fleming is again saying consistency, because you're coming from a league that has some very good players in it, but probably in terms of depth, the Dutch league doesn't really match the Championship in terms of regularity of contests, Graham. And I think that's going to be his culture shock when he hits the ground finally after getting back from injury.
Let's hope it's not too long, that he's out.
No, so I mean, Coventry are coming up next Saturday. The fizz has gone flat. We're probably due a good win now, aren't we? After all this misery,
we'll have a good win Saturday, and it'll be back up running again, won't it?
And then we'll be winning the league on Monday. I'll get Harry back on. The HMS Pistol League's launched again from Surrey docks, or what remains of the docks. I'm going to play us out now with another voicemail received from Jim Littler. Big thank you to Jim. I'm going to do my best with the sound quality. Jim, if you ever want to send me another one, mate, call me. I've sent you my number. Call me. Don't use your car in Carmine, but I'll do my best with it. So hopefully it's listenable. And so big thank you to Graham. I appreciate your time, mate. Thank you for that.
Oh, cheers, Nick. Thanks a lot.
And a huge thank you to you two listeners for tuning in. Until Friday, I'm going to come back Friday with Neil for our Something for the Weekend show ahead of the Coventry fixture. Until then, from Graham and myself, it's Arrivederci Millwall, and bye for now.
Achtung, Millwall.
Line J1 on Twitter, Jim and Benjamin, just travelling back from Sheffield. Very poor performance today. First half was just like last season. No fight, no zest. Just looked lost. When I saw the lineup, I had doubts that we'd do very well today, and so it proved. Second half was better, but it just shows how much we're going to miss Honeyman. Without his energy in midfield, then we're going to struggle again. We don't know what Fleming's going to bring yet. Obviously, he got injured. Thought Danny Mack played well today. Don't know what the hold-up is the contract is, but really, very few of them today can come out of that game with any credit. What do you think, Ben?
Terrible. I'm being honest. It was one of the worst performances that I've ever seen. Like, I've seen some bad ones, but today was just absolutely shocking.
So we go again next week. Coventry at home. We need to get back on track, but I just wonder with Gary Rowett, these ways that he sets our team up away from home, it just looked wrong from the start. So we'll see where we go, Nick. All the best. Cheers.
No One Likes Us Clothing is the clothing range designed by Millwall fans for Millwall fans. Caps, t-shirts, polos, they've got it all. Visit noonelikes.us.co.uk for the full range. Or if you're in Bermondsey on a match day, why not have a pint in the Blue Anchor pub and pick up a Nolu polo shirt, Nolu clothing at www.noonelikes.us.co.uk.